All right. Well, hello, and welcome everyone to our BG5 Live. Great to have you all here live in our Zoom room, watching us via Facebook Live and watching the recording via YouTube. So today is January 12th, 2021. This is episode number 87. And today we're going to take a look at finding your inner truth. So we're going to be taking a look at trait 61 in quality 3. So that's what we're going to be taking a look at today. So before we get started, let's say hello to our panel. Hello and welcome, Moxie. And let's go to Natalie. Hey, Natalie, how you doing? Welcome.
Yay, I'm happy to be here and happy with our guest today and all of you joining, of course.
Yes, and so we have our special guest today, Tuck. Tuck Self is also an instructor at the BG5 Business Institute and is currently teaching the BG5 Foundation course. So welcome, Tuck. It's great to have you here. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be in the Zoom room and actually very happy to see your cat. I was wondering where your cat was a minute ago. So hello, everybody.
She always has to make an appearance. She's asleep. As soon as I start, she has to make her appearance. Great. Well, welcome again, Tuck. And Anna, welcome.
Hi, everyone. Glad to be here. Hope you're all well enough.
Yep. It's a pretty intense time right now. Again, there is a lot of pressure going on. And so that's part of what we'll take a look at today, the mental pressure that's happening today and this week. So again, we're going to take a look at trait 61 in quality 3, and we're going to be taking a look at finding your inner truth. So let's just see where we've been and where we're going. So again, as we take a look at January, January is under pressure. We have a lot of pressure going on. So it's the pressure to transform in the new year. So we took a look at vitality, which happened around Christmas. And New Year's, we had the fighter, the stubbornness to overcome odds. Last week, we had the drive in the 54. This is the drive to rise up. We are now in inner truth. And this is the awareness of the universal underlying principles. And if we take a look at this chart right here, we can see we have 3 pressure traits from drive and stamina. Then we have the 61, where we are now, which is our mental pressure. And the pressure's not over yet. We have 3 more traits coming up that are also in drive and stamina. So if you've been feeling a lot of pressure, you're not alone. I know I have. We talked a little bit about it before we started as well. So I think that, we're all present to the craziness in the world, everything that's going on, and the pressure that's happening as well. Next week, we move into the 60, which is about acceptance. This is the acceptance of limitation and the pressure to mutate. And then we take a look at the dreamer. This is where the New Year's actually starts. So as we were taking a look at this, when in Natalie's article, we were walking through these different steps, and we took a look at the fighter, we took a look at drive, we are now at inner truth. So remember, we have 5 stages of really entering into the new year powerfully. Remember, there's a lot of pressure here. So what we're now in is stage number 3. So the first stage, as we just talked about, was this joyous vitality. Remember, January 1st, we have the fighter. Stage 2, we have the drive. So the fighter is really taking a look at what we took a look at before, is looking back and kind of seeing was your year, your past year, was it fulfilling? Did it have purpose? Did it have meaning? So again, it's about looking back. The drive is about finding your allies. And now we're taking a look at this inner truth. What is your inner truth, this inner assessment? Whoops, this is a little out of order. We'll have stage 4. We'll take a look at stage 4 next week. And again, stage 5 is when we finally step into the new year. But once again, I just want to emphasize there is a lot of pressure. So if you feel that pressure, if you feel upset with things that are going on, if you feel, anything around that, again, this is not the time to take action. This is the time just to be present. And especially now in taking a look at what is your inner truth. So, Natalie, I didn't know if you wanted to add anything as we go through these stages, because we're going to talk a little bit more here about what this stage 3 is all about.
Well, I just want to say, go back to our previous BG5 lives, and you'll you'll find out how we are moving along. But this is an interesting period of time. Everybody thinks when the start of the new year, like, oh my God, this year I'm going to dot dot dot, fill in the blank. And then, we're now in week 2, and then you're already full disillusionated with not being able to keep up with I don't know, the diet, quit smoking, whatever. And there's a reason for that. You should wait to make your New Year's resolution actually to the energetic start of the new year. So we're now in stage 3 of this completion phase.
Yeah. And if you haven't had a chance to read Natalie's article, I don't know if you can post that in the
Yeah.
comments.
Oh, yeah. That's a good idea.
It's a really nice reminder, and as we walk through these different phases. And so stage 1, again, there was this tension, this fighter. This is figuring out why. What is the why of the last year? Is there purpose? We had stage 2, which was ambition. Again, who is your allies? We are now taking a look at what is your inner truth. So this is a time, and I forgot to change the, I knew I forgot something. This still says 2020. It kind of feels like we're still in 2020. So the stage 3 is about assessment. It is about the what. It is the time to look inward, to assess, what is my inner truth? What do I stand for? What will I accept? What will I not accept? What is your inner truth? So what is your own inner truth? Not what's out there in the world. What is your truth? And what is your own inner knowing about everything that's going on currently? And what moves you forward? As well as what do you love to do? Right. As we're looking forward into the future, we also need to see, are we doing what we love? Are we loving what we do? Right. So, are you doing what you love? And what is it that you love? So, this is the inspiration grounded in facts and details of what is possible. This is a time to transcend the boredom of routine and fantasize about the possibilities, but it's not a time to take action. Again, we're still under pressure. Now, if it's correct for you following your decision-making strategy, then there's action to be taken. But again, we're going to feel a lot of mental pressure. We're right in the middle of this mental pressure of trying to figure out what is true, what is not true, what is happening, what is not happening, who do I believe, what do I believe, right? This is all tapping into what is your inner truth. So, Tuck or Anna, would you like to add anything?
I will.
Yes, Anna, and then we'll go to Tuck.
It's just curious to me as an innovator, these questions are very valid and for most people. But they're what questions? They're questions that even though they're assessment questions, they're about doing. And so just speaking to the innovators, the questions aren't bad, but when you're assessing as it's a process of how an innovator is moving towards inner truth, moving to being in inner knowing, moving forward, moving into what you love, because the dynamic is slightly different for an innovator. It's about being moved rather than doing. So I just wanted to make that comment for innovators out there.
Yeah, and Anna is our innovator here, so I really appreciate you clarifying that as well. You know, one of the things we take a look at, especially in the foundation course as well as the certification course, in working with innovators, innovators don't like being asked questions. So it really is taking a look at looking at it from, and I know these are in a question form, but looking at it in that sense, as Anna just mentioned, that just realizing and feeling what is moving you forward or not. Yeah, beautifully said, Anna. Thanks for that. Beautiful. And Tuck.
It's a great question. What is my inner truth? That's always answer a question with a question, right? The word that comes up for me is possibility. What's coming to me, Karen, as I've been listening to you, is how before I had this information about the stages and the new year actually being January 20, 21st, 22nd, I would find myself spending those first 2 weeks of every year slower than everybody else and taking time every day to, go ahead and reflect, to be doing what you've laid out, what Natalie has laid out here, that is correct to do in order to prepare for the new year. So I really do appreciate the information and the permission to go with what already felt natural, prior to getting this information. And I have actually felt physiologically stressed, not mentally, but physiologically stressed until Saturday. And today, as I look at your questions, I literally spent the day journaling, processing an interaction, an experience, an event that happened yesterday, asking myself these very questions before coming to the call and seeing you put the very questions here. So I think it's fascinating, once the information is given, to realize and to look back at how often I'll speak for myself, I'm already living and doing and assessing what this incredible, as you said the other day, Natalie, fifth dimension tool and system gives to us and provides us. So I'm somebody that loves to live in the question anyway and to live in the inquiry. And so I'll just continue to ask myself, what is my inner truth?
Yep, exactly. Exactly. Beautifully said, Tuck. Anything, Natalie, you would like to add?
Yeah, so it is mental, right? It is in inspiration. But for me, it also feels like it's kind of moving along with my decision making strategy, right? So what is my inner truth is what I resonate to, right? And actually, Debbie Rosenfeld in the Facebook has it defined in her unconscious grounding balance. And I asked her, so do you resonate, and how do you see it show up? And she says, just when we shared this, and we are not even at the trade yet, right? But oh goodness, so mind blowing. I was asked to do some additional work in accounting work to add a new project, and I turned it down last night. It is not work I want to do. What do I want? What moves me forward? Setting boundaries, the first time I have said no, as I so wanted to help. Yet I am establishing boundaries to do what I really love doing. So yeah, it kind of ties in for me with, what you really love to do is what you are moved into by whatever decision making strategy you have. So and that's and then the inner truth is also something that is, you cannot search for it. Well, we're going into the trade, right? But so it's more of something that just pops up and pops into your mind, and then okay, some kind of understanding or some kind of knowing where to go, or some kind of, yeah, it just pops in.
Yeah, exactly. You know, what Natalie is talking about is this is an individual trait and an individual strength. So this is, in a sense, not knowing, not knowing, not knowing until suddenly you know. And so as we take a look at the 61, and when we take a look at this inner truth, it's the awareness of universal underlying principles, right? So what really is the truth? What is, what is operating behind the scenes? What are those universal principles that are aligned with us personally as an individual as well? Again, it's in the individual circuitry. It's the pressure to know the absolute truth. It's the pressure to know the mysteries of life. And it's the pressure to resolve the individual tension to know. And it's also about mystery, and it's also about silence. Inner truth. So I'd love to hear more. Do any of you on our panel have the 61 in your? You have the 61, Natalie?
Yeah, I do. I believe I even have it in my driving force.
Yeah. So how does this show up for you?
Good question. Well, it does show up kind of like what I just said, right? Like all of the sudden you have just this knowing. For instance, I just know this BG5 system is absolutely spot on, right? And can I explain it? That's the other thing about the individual circuitry. You may not have it always be able to explain it, as it is just a knowing, right? Just a, so where did you get that from? Do you have proof? Pa 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 pa. No, I just know. Well, I do have some proof, but but for a lot of things, it is kind of a knowing, and I really cherish that in also in persons around me, right? That I'm looking for that authenticity. My own personal coaching practice is called Auténtico too in Spanish, being authentically yourself and coming to this, yeah, inner knowing of who you are and operating correctly, right? But so that's really my drive to bring to others. Yeah. So
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So this you have a driving force to know.
well, yes, this was my, so on the website is also my case study. I had this big why question, but this was about my own life. So usually it is everything up in the head. So in the inspiration and conceptualization is more of things you give to the to the outer world, right? To benefit society or friends, family, whatever. And it's not so much to go and get up in your head about your own process and where to go, because that answer is in your decision making strategy, in your body awareness. But yes, I had in my personal process, because yeah, I do get up in my mind. I have a lot of openness, so my monkeys are very loud at times. And then the big why does this happen? How does this work, right? So yeah, the mysteries of life. That's what it's all about.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. I love it.
I wanted to chime in and just uh, working with Natalie. I have the 24, which is the opposite.
Ah.
And every once in a while, I don't know if you notice this, Natalie, but I do. It's darling. It's delightful. You'll go, oh, in the middle of class, you'll have this little thing that's like suddenly you know something, you want to you remember something, but it's a certain sound like, oh, it's pretty cute. My kids have 61, so it's quite interesting. For every once in a while we get into these wonderful conversations about trying to answer things that don't have words, or getting an answer that doesn't have, you can't formulate the words. And sometimes I can for them as I listen to them, because that's what 24 can do. But it's fascinating to see the process, because to me, this is more of a process. You know, answers don't always come in the form of a word. It comes in the form of, oh, let's go this way, or the decision-making strategy leads you that way.
Yeah, beautifully said. Thank you, Anna. How about for you, Tuck?
Let me unmute myself. I am drawn to speak to how I am navigating the global environment right this minute. As I look at your bullet points, I have the 24 as well, and I am open in both functions, inspiration and conceptualization, and with that 24. And yesterday morning, like I'm grateful for the system, and that it has given me a sense of grounding as we go through this transition and these changing times, a real deep sense of grounding. Yesterday, I woke up and the words that came out of my mouth were, I'm actually feeling a little sense of fear today. There was pressure and fear. And so again, I'm living in the question and asking myself, right this minute, I have a defined, my mind is defined based on what's going on out there that's connecting to me, and not buying into the conditioning and the fear that's around me. But I love the questions on the board that you put, to stay in the question again, rather than attempting to come up with some answer, thinking that I have the truth, the universal truth, but to play with it and to relax and to stay in that sense of contemplation with all of the questions that you have on that page feels really, really, in quotes, safe and secure, and brings that sense of satisfaction. So
Yeah.
it's my experience of what's going on with the 24 right this minute.
Yep. Yeah. Very, very good observation, Tuck. And there's we're in the middle of massive changes, right? We're moving towards 2027. We had a crazy year last year. It seems like this year is starting off to be a bit crazy as well. So again, continue to ground yourself in your own truth. Remember, there isn't anything to do at this moment. And at times it can be, things can bring up fear. Things can bring up uncertainty. Things can bring up doubt. And so it's always kind of getting back to what this inner truth is all about. And it's in inspiration. So it's getting this additional inspiration of what's there and how do we move forward.
I think Moxie is trying to read and really, get into it.
Exactly.
And Debbie, who has it in her chart, right? She's saying it's really about learning to trust and inner knowing. And she was also putting there that she does that all the time, Anna. So the thing that I do, like, oh, that's when she wrote that she does that all the time.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, let's take a deeper dive here, and let's take a look at the third quality. The third quality is, again, always the pioneer. It's learning through trial and error. And when we take a look at quality 3, it is about interdependence. It's exceedingly difficult for the truth to stand alone. We use this analogy of the puzzle quite often, and that's why I put these puzzle pieces here. If you think of an individual puzzle piece, you are not getting the full picture. You're only getting one little minute piece of the picture, and it doesn't make sense by itself. But when you start putting the puzzle together, you start to see how the different pieces connect. You start to see the bigger picture. Right. So I think part of what's happening right now as well is that there's all of these pieces of truth. and what happens when you start putting all of these pieces together. So when we take a look at the elevation, it's the pressure to know enhanced through collaboration. Right. So it's very interesting that last week we were taking a look at who are your allies. And now we're taking a look at this pressure to know enhanced through collaboration. This is the ability to establish relationships for the actualization of truths and through their nurturing and protective power to ensure a stable environment in which they can continue to grow. All right. So again, it's this pressure to know enhanced through collaboration. Now, the challenge of this is the impatience with others and forsaking of relationships. So, with the abundance of energy and in the possession of truth, a tendency to leave others behind or get crushed by their resistance. So this is what the quality 3 is all about when we take a look at 61 and the inner truth. So I would love to hear from our panel what this brings up or what you see in taking a look at this quality 3.
Oh, go ahead, talk.
I was gonna, yeah, I was going to laughingly say, look at us collaborating and establishing relationships today for actualizing the truths and nurturing and protective, creating nurturing and protective power. I was laughing because that's exactly what we're doing in our elevation today. So look at us.
Yay, us.
That's what I have to say. Yay for us. We're elevating.
Exactly. Again, it's this we have quite a few people, in our Zoom room. We have quite a few people that are watching us live as well on Facebook. And in a sense, it's this little collaboration, if you will, to know that things are going to be okay, right? That there are pieces of the puzzle that we're putting together and understanding what this background energy is all about, and taking a look at how we continue to move forward by tapping into our own inner truth.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Natalie.
Now, the other thing, what hit me here is especially the last piece of the challenge, that the tendency to leave others behind or be crossed by their resistance. So it is an inner knowing and an inner truth and your truth, but here to be shared eventually. However, since it is not so common, or it could be, well, it's something that may not even be there yet, like it's suddenly coming to you. It's also very mystical. And then to be able to explain is difficult, right? And that's where you can be crossed by their resistance, or, well, if you keep silence, of course, then you can be crossed. If you just go ahead, like informing, having innovators here, always good, but it's not always easy to formulate your truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, not, you don't always, and the other thing, you don't need to convince others, but to have a conversation about it, and for the other to understand your truth, which may not be their truth, or it's so individual. Yeah. Anyway, but we are here to eventually collaborate on that.
Mm-hmm. And this is one of the things about it's one of the things about the individual circuitry as well. It's hard to be in a sense an individual by yourself, right? So being an individual is the collective is very weary, not really trusting what the individual is going to do. The tribe also doesn't trust the individual because it goes beyond whatever the traditions are. And so in order to be an individual, it's sort of this dichotomy or this paradox, is that in order to be an individual, you it, it's sort of like the more individual you can be, the more you can connect to the bigger whole. And it's almost like the more individual you can be, the more you can then inspire the collective or inspire the tribe, right? This is also about inspiration as well.
Yeah,
That's why the fighter is also very individual. You have to fight to get new things out there, things that are new, things that are different, things that that assist us in moving forward as humanity as well. Did you
yeah,
want to add something, Natalie?
yeah. So the thing you said, but being yourself, being you, being individual is also inspirational for others. But
Yes.
and the individual circuitry is about empowerment, empowering others to also be themselves, right? That's what we always say: be the color parts of you, and the individual circuitry is the circuitry that brings change in society, that brings our evolution, right? So yeah, that's the paradox, right?
Mm-hmm.
It also brings moving forward. Yeah.
Exactly. And we're moving into the era of the individual, right? And oftentimes we think the individual, when we think of individuality, we often think of it as something being selfish. We talked about this a bit when we talked about the 54, and the 54 is collab or is finding our allies. It's very tribal. Here, it's very individual. So you think that the individual then acts alone. But again, how empowering is it when you are around other people who are being themselves? Right? There's a whole other dynamic that's possible when we're all free to simply be ourselves, right? To be our individual and our individual selves and stand in our own individual truth as well.
And I wanted to add, as I'm looking at these puzzle pieces, especially right now in the global atmosphere, in this elevation and challenge, it's easy to single out one puzzle piece, a particular person, a particular issue, and focus on that. And without, and that's, you can collaborate in the negative and, gain forces in the negative, or kind of get homogenized into a group thinking of supporting or not supporting something. But the individual, all these individual puzzle pieces, whether they're an issue or a person, eventually have to connect. And that's, right now we're sort of moving these pieces on the board, but they're not always fitting together. These things are going to group together a little at a time and then finally start fitting, but that all takes a lot of time. And one of the pieces about the 61 is that it takes the right time. Recognition and timing is a big part of how this operates. And it's important, like you already said, it's not time to act per se. It's time to actually sort of allow this to happen. And then it's obvious at a certain point, and then the puzzle pieces start to fit together. So it's really important in this individual process. As I understand it, the individual process is about what you know to be true for you, but it does not eliminate somebody else's what's true for them.
Beautifully said, Anna. I'm really glad you brought that up. And again, sometimes I love what you said about oftentimes we focus on, only one piece of the puzzle, and we can make up all kinds of stuff about this one piece of the puzzle where we don't see it in the full context, right? And it takes this interdependence of seeing all of these different perspectives from all of these different places that allow us to see the whole, right? The sum is the sum of the parts is I always forget how that goes.
Sum is greater than
The whole, yeah.
Yeah, that one.
The
Yeah.
whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Exactly. And so when you just focus on the pieces or the parts, you don't see the full picture. right? So this comes with truth, this comes with news, it comes with the issues, it comes with, focusing on certain people, just like what Anna was saying. So again, allow those pieces of the puzzle to start being put together so that we can start to see also, in a sense, this interdependence, because I think we're much more powerful individually when we can connect, support, and empower others as well through this interdependence, and how interdependent we really are. Yeah, beautiful. All right, so let's take a look here at our celebrity. So here we have Orlando Bloom. If you're not familiar with him, he's a British actor, and his life work theme, he's probably best known for his role in Lord of the Rings. And the Hobbit. He's also been in Pirates of the Caribbean. He's also been in Troy and the Kingdom of Heaven and New York and I Love You. And he also was starring in Amazon's neo-noir series Carnival Row. And also, I just thought it was interesting, him and his sister participated in poetry and Bible reading competitions growing up. Now, the reason I bring that up is that if we take a look at his core essence and what his life work theme is all about, it's the material world, it's the Maya. You are inspiring and you are an inspiring and inspired thinker who must use your mind to serve in service of others in order to avoid going mad or trying to know the unknowable. You're looking for universal truths in facts and details to resolve the questions of life and death. And so it's interesting, if you see the roles that he plays, he often plays these characters in these sort of mythical roles, like he did in the Lord of the Rings, and kind of trying to find what is the truth, etc. So I just thought that was interesting. I don't know if anyone is familiar with Orlando Bloom, or there's anything that you would like to add about what you see, in regards to the 63 or the 61 quality 3, or as far as his life work theme.
Well, I know him from seeing, but really knowing not too much. But what I find interesting is that this real mystical inner knowing, right, is grounded by logic, by details and logic. So and how that plays together in this life work theme is interesting, because how can you? It kind of almost feels paradoxal, right? Like facts and details and the unknowable, and the truths about life and death.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you take a look at what Natalie was just saying, the grounding, right? The grounding is in the 62, right? And yeah, so it's kind of an interesting thing to explore.
Also,
And the
looking at
60 and the 62, just so the 62 here is, in a sense, the voice of the logic. What was that, Anna?
I was just looking at, he has survival instinct, that instinctive energy. And to me, just watching some of the shows, I don't know him personally, just from the, the mythical characters, but he does bring this sort of instinctive mythical energy to those roles and acts them out for us, because all these plots are, sort of mysterious and, mega world stories that we can all plug into one way or another.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Beautiful. All right.
That's funny. Charmaine says that he shares survival instinct and other traits with Katy Perry, his partner.
Oh, interesting. Very cool. All right. So again, this is a week of really being in that inner truth. And remember, part of inner truth, as we talked about before, is mystery and also silence. So if you're feeling that pressure, if you're feeling what, like what Tuck was talking about, any fear or upset or anything that is not quite right, tap into what is your own inner truth. So spend some time being quiet this week as well. So again, if you want to follow along with our BG5, we invite you to download your chart so that you can also see, do you have this trait? Or if you don't have this trait, how does it operate? Also, you can follow us and watch the past episodes on YouTube, or you can take a look at the past episodes in our free resource library. You can also take a look at the traits as they change, or the qualities as they change and the traits as they change, if you go to the website and go to the BG5 Live. And again, we have our other courses that are starting this week and next week. So we're now diving into our new semester. So we invite you to check out our courses and classes. So what I'd like to do to wrap up is I'd like to hear from each of our panel, each of the members on our panel. Also, if there's any of you in Facebook or live in our Zoom room, if there's anything that people should be aware of, conscious about, pay attention to over this next week. We're going to be moving next week. We'll be talking about limitation in the 60. So it's kind of getting your inner truth to, we have the limitation and acceptance as well on the other side, which we'll take a look at next week as well. So I'd love to hear anything just to kind of keep in mind today and for the next few days when it comes to that inner truth.
Well, I'd like to emphasize again, as with all of the pressure that we have in this period, just sit with it. Don't act upon it. Know that it is not you always that that makes you maybe be a little bit shaky or fearful or whatever, and just breathe through, right? Because it is quite tense in the world, right? And we will flow through. I'm convinced of that, and that it is right now so tense is apparent from what we see in the system, and once we get to January 21st, the new, energetic new year, it will, flow. It will come to whatever, how do you say, that's a course. It will have some kind of what is direction? That's it. So breathe through, and if you feel tired or if you get headaches or whatever, just if you we are all at home, right? So just lay down, even if it's the middle of the day, who cares, and then so take care of yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Natalie. What's there for you, Anna?
I would just remind you, all of us, that your body knows. There's an inner knowing that runs the whole gamut from, the mind, the intelligence, let's say, of our being, all the way down to all the monkey mind chatter and the fears and the what ifs and all that stuff. But really, if we're talking about grounding, your body knows. If you do need to take that nap, like Natalie said, go ahead. If you need the extra thing of ice cream, I mean, I don't know if anybody needs that, but I mean, if you need something, succulent, if you need a friend, whatever, your body will tell you what you need to handle the pressure in a constructive way. And the other thing I would like to say is I love the phrase, truth is inclusive. There's not just one thing. If we just focus on one part of it, we might lose the rest of it. Truth is inclusive. I like that phrase.
I love that, Anna. Thank you so much. And Tuck, It has been so great having you here and being a part of our panel. I'd love to hear your words of wisdom.
Couldn't unmute myself. There's this quote, Glenda Green, that's where I got it from, in a beautiful book that she wrote, that says, worry is the needless disrespect of the divine order of things. And that's what this particular trait reminds me of, in the pressure of anxiety and worry and those possibilities, rather than going there, to stay in that realm of enjoying this opportunity that we have to complete 2020 and to reflect and to imagine, and in terms of today, really be inspired by what's possible. I can go down the rabbit hole with the doom and gloom, and or based on the individuality, stay in the present time, stay in the eternal present moment, knowing that I'm safe and secure and okay right now, and play with possibility and live in the inquiry, which is my favorite thing to do anyway. So thank you.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Tuck. And a huge thank you to each and every one of you that are here and joining us today, whether you're here live in our Zoom room or on Facebook, or you're listening via the recording. Again, it is this, the truth does not stand alone. So it's really great to be able to connect with all of you today. And hopefully this has given you a bit of inspiration over the next couple of days. And again, take care of yourself. I love what Tuck said, just be in the present moment. Make sure that if, as Anna was saying, if you need to rest, allow your body to let you know what you need. And really take care of yourself. And as Natalie said, don't make decisions from this place. Allow things to unfold as they're unfolding. There will be resolution. And sometimes it just takes time. We have the 2021, or the 2021 really starts on the 21st. That's kind of interesting. It's very cool. Oh, the other thing I wanted to invite all of you to as well is that there is the Human Design Marathon that's going on as well. We'll post we just sent out a newsletter, so it's in the newsletter. Also we'll post it in the links below as well, if you're listening via the recording. So that's going to be an amazing collaboration of people in the human design world, including us as well, who will share a bit about what BG5 is as well. But it's going to be a really, really cool event, 3 days with all kinds of speakers. So invite you to check that out as well. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Sending love and peace to all of you, and look forward to seeing you all next week. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye. Bye.